just get your mind together and come on across to me. You may be ambassador to England or France. You might like to gamble. You might like to dance. You might be the heavyweight champion of the world. You might be a lawyer with that long string of pearls, but you're going to have to serve somebody. Yes, indeed, you're going to have to serve somebody. It could be the devil, or it could be the Lord. You're going to have to serve somebody. Okay, we're going to start the Individualist Manifesto, find out what it's all about. I don't know what it's all about, have a look. And the first chapter in the Individualist Manifesto is natural justice. Okay, so first of all, what is individualism? And individualism is a philosophy, if you like, that is an evolution of the planetary movement from previous levels of understanding to higher levels of understanding of the natural order in the universe. And it's coming out of a number of previous movements. If we go back most recently, we have corporatism. We have corporatism at the moment. Okay, and we had communism. Corporatism is coming out of socialism, and communism is producing corporatism. But out of corporatism is coming individualism. If we go back earlier, that we had, when there were kings at the time, I suppose we're talking about the 16th century, this sort of time, but before that we had kings and the church, okay, and this was a kind of divine civil society which then fell into industrialism, okay? Industrialism, the Industrial Revolution, and the changes that happened to the governments where the kings were thrown out and the kings were replaced with what was sort of called republics. And the republics turned into the globalists, the republicans turned into the globalists, really. And which is basically organisationalism, whereby fake corporations were created with aims and objectives to allow gangs to form around ways and means of controlling all of the resources of the natural world. Okay, and individualism is the exact opposite of organisationalism. Okay, so the philosophy of individualism, the Individualist Manifesto, is what this is about. This formulates the idea that there's no real validity to corporations, that they're merely the idea in an individual's head. All organisation stems from ideas in individuals' heads, and the only natural order is at the individual level. All else is a creation of a fallen, demonic state of humanity which creates ideas, false ideas, and new false entities, brings new false entities into the world in order to control the world and overcome the natural order. I'm going to stop now and have my coffee, and then I'll continue. You don't know why you do stuff. Why did I stop? Well, I stopped because after drinking my coffee, I then have recently decided to take one of these, and maybe one isn't enough. I'm still experimenting with this, because what's happening is we no longer spend our life in the sun. In the natural order, we would spend our time in the sun because our houses would be more integrated with the surroundings around them. The greenery, the animals and everything would be here around us. It would be like paradise, you know. And maybe we'd be living in little tents, or, I don't know, little stone houses. It depends on the climate, you know. Yet we would be more at home and at one with the animals and nature, okay? And all the various species of animals that are natural to this part of the world would be around us and living together with us. And the food that we would be eating would be the natural food that was grown in that area. We wouldn't be importing stuff from all over the world and carrying on. And our houses would be made to our own design. And they wouldn't, there'd be a lack of, there's no doors in this house, you can't walk outside. So you can see I'm scratching my shoulder here because I have condition where I cannot heal myself properly because I believe there's a vitamin, D3, vitamin D deficiency in nearly all of us because we all spend our time doing this inside, we never go out. And the reason I know this is because when I was on my boat, I spent a lot of time, my face got completely burnt, and it's the skin and the sun on the skin that actually gives you the vitamin D thing. And my problems immediately cleared up. After only a week or so in the sun, it made a huge difference. But I can't really do that here because my lifestyle is not really revolve around being outside because I'm not part of the natural order. Because I live in a society. It's not because I don't want to be part of the natural order, it's because I live in a society which is not part of the natural order. The natural order has been replaced by organisationalism, okay? And so I had to learn this by myself because I'm so frightened to go anywhere near the health service because of its unnatural approach. And even this to me is an unnatural approach, but this stuff is made out of lichen that the reindeer eat, and so the reindeer probably know their stuff as far as eating lichen, probably because they're not getting enough vitamin D from the low sunlight in the Arctic areas. And so it's a possibility. I'm giving it a shot. But it hasn't been successful so far, and I don't think either it's no good stuff or the dosage is wrong. I read somewhere that it should be twice this dosage, but I'm just going to try it as it is at the moment. And I take it with my milk coffee because it needs some kind of fat to go with it. Alright, so I'm just showing you that I am affected personally by the fake organisational society that we've come to live in, and I'm not happy with it. Yet I'm a happy person because there's nothing I can do about it except try to inform humanity of the problem. And whilst there is this kind of a society in the making. We're going to have things like school shootings in it, which is a terrible thing, and I don't want this kind of thing to continue. And I'd like to find a way forward so that humanity can understand the mistake it's made and somehow move forward in a closer movement towards natural order. So in natural order there are only natural organisations. And so I'll go through what those natural organisations are. The natural organisations of nature start with the individual. The individual is the cornerstone of all of natural order. And when that individual becomes one with nature, i.e. they are not making any crimes against nature which would offend nature's natural justice, then that human is justified, and is justified by the proof that he is living in the natural order, in tune with nature, because nature takes off the wool over his eye, from off his eyes, and he can see the natural order perfectly in a shining light. Okay. And he's never unhappy at that point, and he's never bored, and he's always busy. Okay. If he's not busy working, he's busy sleeping. Now, once an individual, single individual, becomes justified by nature, then it takes him and puts him as part of the next level of natural order, which is the couple. So the couple is the next level, and that means two individuals who both, at least one of them has to be in the natural order, because that one can teach the other one. Yet to become a couple, fully natural couple in natural order, both of those two individuals have to become a single individual couple. And you'll notice that they used to know this because the marriage ceremony used to say, what God has joined together, God or nature, what nature has joined together, let no man break asunder. Okay, it's just one. And so at that point they're known as Mr. and Mrs. whatever, or Lord and Lady whatever, and so on. You have the divine couple. And then they start a family, and once you have a divine couple and there are children from the divine couple, these children form a divine family. And this family then continues on, and it moves forward through time, and you have the various generations. And so the family is a part of the natural order. Okay. Now, to organize civilization is not necessary because nature organizes it. And so around the family forms the family ends up having some kind of occupation. And this is what you call their calling. It has a special word in German, it's called Berufung. And it is not your job, it's what you're called by nature to do. I am called by nature to produce this video and create this book, the Individualist Manifesto. Because I can do nothing else in this moment. That's what I have to do. That is my calling. I'm not scheming and thinking, how can I create some sort of organization to promote this thing? That is not part of what I do. Promotion can never be part of what anybody does. The whole concept of advertising and promotion is a demonic concept, and you'll notice if you ever get an advertisement thrown at you, be it on a billboard, be it on a sign on the wall, be it on whilst you're watching a YouTube video and something comes up in your face, it is a terrible thing. Yeah, it's evil, completely evil. And so why is there no law in the world to prevent advertising completely, to stop it completely? And in the natural order, natural justice would be, there would be no advertisements at all. Okay. Okay, it wouldn't be allowed. And so we can see the extent of the difference between natural order and corporatism or organisationalism is what we have at the moment. Okay, I'm going to stop there, pause the video, and we'll come back again. Now what happens in natural order if the bad guys come along? Yeah, if you call the police? Well, there's no police. The police is a relatively recent phenomenon. I think it was created about in the 1850s, something like that. Before that there were no police. There were knights. Knights are part of the natural order. Okay. So a knight has taken certain vows to protect divine nature and the people in divine nature, protect women and children against any evil menaces or influences that might encroach on them. And so the knights would be moving amongst the people. The knights were an evolutionary process as part of the church. The first part of the church was the knights, really. The knights were the link between ordinary humanity and the high church. The high church is the highest wisdom in the land, okay? And the church is a natural phenomenon, okay? Because when people evolve to the point where they're more useful in the philosophy department, then they move from working in the fields into the church, which is the department of philosophy, if you like. And the education arm of nature. And so you have a movement, a natural movement from the masses into the church. It's not appointed, there's no appointments. People are only justified by nature to be part of the church or part of the working classes or masses. And anybody can move from the working classes into the church simply by being justified by nature. And so slavery is a natural thing. Slavery is a natural thing. You surprise you that you say slavery is part of the natural order. Because slavery means that you committed certain crimes against nature, and nature makes you a slave for 7 years, and then after 7 years, as long as you haven't committed any more crimes, you've learnt your lesson, and you can move through that period and become part of the normal society, divine civil society. Again, you can move into it. From a period of work as a slave, and then to become a master in your own right. And so there's masters and slaves. A master is exactly the same as what you have at universities. You become a master of law, or a master of, you can become a master motor mechanic, you can become a master skateboarder, you can become a master of anything that you're called to do. Mastership is simply that you achieved a certain level and nature qualified you as a master. It doesn't require anybody else to qualify you to be a master in something. I'm a master at a number of things. I've never been qualified by anybody to be that. I'm a master of computer science. I never went to university. They didn't have universities when I was inducted into the calling of computer science. I simply joined together with other masters who already learnt it, and I worked together with the makers of the computers who trained me under masters to become a master myself. So I've been through this process, and I've never been, ever since I left school, I've never been a slave or a worker. I've always been a master. I was an apprentice for a few years, that's all. And this is a natural progression. If Ethan Crumbley had been able to live in a society that had that natural progression so that he could move into his calling. Because what Ethan Krumbley wanted to be was a knight. He wanted to have weapons, and he wanted to go in to join the army, and so he wanted to become a knight. And that would have given him his pathway. He was already partially a philosopher. He was on a journey because he was trying to understand the philosophy of life around him. Even though nobody could teach him, he was trying to come up with his own ideas about how everything worked. And he realized the truth that he was living in a fake society. Now, I've been through this fake organisational process, and I've created a number of fake organisations myself. I used to work for a company called Information Management Services, and surprisingly enough, when it started, it was not a fake organisation, because it was a calling to create information management services in the town where we lived. Okay, there was no information management services organisation. Information management services was a calling, and one man, he was working for a meat company, he was the head of the data processing section, was called to bring together people in the local area to bring services to a wider group of people, to take the services, the wisdom that they had, and to bring it to the area that they were living in. Okay, he didn't go to some other area and open a branch of McDonald's and blah blah blah. He didn't do that. He created a calling, and then all the people who came to the area or were living in the area joined together to become part of this calling. It was a group of masters all servicing the information industry in that town. And nobody told us what to do. Never. I was never ever told what to do. I was told, they would say to me, look, there's somebody come to see us about a project that they're interested in. Can you attend the meeting? And I would come and attend the meeting, and we'd talk, and I would take charge. If I felt that it was my job, I would take charge. I'd be called to it. I'd say, yeah, right, understand that. When do you want to start? I'll see you next week, okay? And I just go in and do it. And I worked on projects. It took me 3 years once to design a system. To design the system took me 3 years. And that whole of the time, that 3 years, nobody said, how are you doing? How are you getting? I just did it. I just worked and worked and worked on it until it was done. I was called to do it. So callings are much different to jobs and work and that kind of thing. That they're not tedious callings. Callings, you just like to get up in the morning and do it. That's all it is. You can't help yourself. You've got to do it. They don't have 9 to 5s. And I think Elon Musk is onto this idea, because he said he doesn't want people working in his organisation who, are just there when they feel like being there. He wants people to dedicate their lives as a calling to what he's doing. So I think it's very similar there. Tesla, he created Tesla. I don't know. He has to be part of the organisational world that he lives in, so he's got to create organisations. But it's interesting, his name X means nothing. Nothing. X means nothing. And so he's having trouble with this organisational approach of creating names and having to have many hats on, am I Tesla, am I SpaceX, am I, and all these things are actually fake creations, most of them. Perhaps not in Elon Musk's case, because they're all new things, new callings perhaps. And he has to integrate them somehow with the organisational structure. But where you have things like Where it's a group of people coming together, you see, with Elon Musk, it's not a group really. Elon Musk is the master at the head of a calling, and he just got different names for them because he got different callings. Elon Musk, you know, he's called to do SpaceX, called to do the Boring Company, he's called to do Twitter now, yeah, because somebody's got to be called to do it. Yeah. Solve these problems. So Elon Musk, I feel Elon Musk is justified by nature to do what he's doing. He must be. But the World Bank, no way. Bitcoin, yes, it's a calling. Bitcoin and this other guy this digital ID, yeah, it sounds like a terrible thing. It needs to be under the control of the individual. That's what individualism is. It means everything's under your control. That within the individualism, you name yourself, okay? This is very, very important. This is right at the heart of individualism. You name yourself. The law is, you know your name, and your name initially comes from your parents because you're not able to give yourself a name. Yet, as you get older, your name can change, and if your name changes, names change by baptism and by anointment. By water and oil. And there's an old saying that says, God has many names and the devil has no name, and that is very profound. In the Bible it talks about being born again, and to be born again means to get a new name and a new calling. That's what it means. When you get a new calling, you get a new name. And you can have many names. That's enough. I'll take 5. Well, the video's getting quite long, so I think it's a bit of enough for one video. We've actually covered some of the topics of the next couple of chapters also, yet I'm going to make videos about those chapters too and perhaps cover other things. It's necessary to have some kind of overview to start with, so that's really what this video has been about. It's been a bit of an overview to get some sort of idea about what an individualist manifesto might be compared to a Communist Manifesto or Socialist Manifesto or Capitalist Manifesto or an organisational manifesto. Yeah, get some sort of idea of what that is. And also to introduce the main parts of it, because, you know, in natural order you've got the church and you've got the state, and there's separate heads of those really. You've got the head of the church and the head of the state. The head of the state is the king, the head of the church is the highest divine in the kingdom. And there can be no law, there can be no natural law. I think what's the subject of this we're talking about at the moment? Natural justice. There can be no justice outside of the kingdom. You can't have justice at the world level. Justice has to be at the kingdom level. Okay, you have a king in charge of a nation, and the nation has its own karma. Individuals and families have their own karma, couples have their own karma, guilds have their own karma. We haven't talked about the guilds yet, but we will be doing that. The dog, you see, the guilds became bad stuff. The guilds were the first organisational aspects of society which became corrupted and ended up being destroyed and taken over, gotten rid of to create the corporations. So the guilds are part of natural order, the corporations are not. the corporation, the first company was the Dutch East India Company. You know what they did? They went over and stole India. So you can see there's a big dog going on upstairs. The dog doesn't like the Dutch East India Company. So a gang of crooks is what they were, and the king was involved too. So it was a very corrupt society that created corporatism and destroyed the divine civil society, the natural order, and created a fake order which we now need to fully understand. If we fully understand it, we won't do it anymore, and we'll evolve into something better. And that's the next thing after socialism, because socialism is coming out of communism. Okay, communism, then socialism, and the highest evolved nation we have is the DDR or the GDR, the East German Democratic Republic. They were taken over by the West and forced into integration with the Western Germany. But it's a fake organisation. It should be a separate nation because they have a completely separate karma. West Germany didn't go through the communist phase, didn't go with the connection with Russia and the karma that it has with Russia. East Germany shares a karma with Russia. If West Germany is making decisions on behalf of East Germany, it goes against the law of divine justice, natural justice. Okay, there have to be natural organizations of nations for there to be natural justice. So the first thing we've got to do is get back to the natural borders, because there have been a lot of fake borders all around the world. The Ukraine is full of fake borders. There are Russian people living in the Ukraine. A line has been drawn. Part of it includes Russia, part of it includes Ukraine. You know, it's not a nation. And if you've got a fake nation like that, you're going to have all sorts of trouble. You're going to have civil war. Okay. Civil war is not always about two sides of the nation. Civil war can be war of the people against the government. You know, that's another form of civil war. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to play that Bob Dylan song again. Thanks for watching. I'm going to continue this, I hope, and these are the only videos that are coming up now in order as the Individualist Manifesto for the next few weeks. Okay, thanks for watching.